friends, and welcome to a new episode of Sylvia Knits Stuff. My name is Sylvia, I'm 35 years old, and I live right outside of Paris, France, and I come on this channel to talk to you guys mainly about knitting, though recently my past two videos were a little bit different, but still knitting adjacent. If you want to find me on Instagram or Ravelry, my username on both of those is SylvieRar. It's right here at the bottom of the screen and also in the description box below. Usually all of my project pages are pretty up to date. Like if I change the needle size, I'll add the needle. If I make any mods, I usually detail them, that kind of thing. So feel free to go check that out. YouTube seems to be sending some more people my way recently. It seems like my knitting needle comparison video has been bringing people in. And thank you to all the new subscribers who are here on this journey with me. I hope you enjoy what I've got going on. And also another kind of administrative note, summer is finally here in France. It took a really long time to get here. If you're anywhere in Northern Europe, I think it was pretty much the same, but now it's sunny. And I have closed the window right here. And I have not totally shut my door, and even just that I feel like it's heating up, so I have left the window in the living room open. I live on a kind of busy street, so I just want to apologize for any noises from scooters and trucks. Like even with this window closed, you can still sometimes hear the noisy people, trucks, scooters going by, and it might be a little bit noisier with the living room window open. Alrighty, it's been a while since I did a regular podcast. YouTube says I did my last one a month ago, but I do think it was longer than that. I think it was mid-May, and it's almost July at this point. So anyway, let's get started into the podcast. So it's just standard podcast. We're going to start with finished objects. First of all, there is the one that I am wearing. Last time I came and spoke to you guys in a podcast, I don't think I had even cast it on yet. I think I mentioned it saying that I was going to, but I hadn't started it. I quickly checked my video and I think it said upcoming cast-ons. Anyway, this is the Kylie Pullover by Irene, and this pattern came out and I feel like all over French knitting Instagram, people were immediately obsessed. And I was talking to a knitting friend, Laurie, whose YouTube channel is called Matsuzagi. And she and another YouTuber, Instagrammer, knitting person decided to do a knit along. So I hopped on that little train and I knit my Kylie. I'll have put up the picture obviously so you can see that mine is a little bit different than standard Kylie. So let me kind of talk about it. So this pattern is meant to be worn with a lot of positive ease. As you can see, I have a lot of positive ease, but I just knit the size 1 actually. I knit the size 1 for a few different reasons. I only had 200 grams of this bamboo, which it's TruBoo from Lion Brand that I bought in the US. And it's the colorway Mint. And so my idea was hopefully I would have enough to do the body in Mint in like a long enough wearable length. I knew it was going to be cropped. I just hoped it would be like acceptably cropped and not nipple grazing. And I just knit until I pretty much ran out of that Mint, and I think the length came out perfectly. Let me stand up and show you real quick. Also, I haven't woven in a couple ends at the bottom, so don't judge me for that. So this pattern, it calls for Lina. I think that's how you pronounce it. If you know, let me know. It calls for Lina from Sandnes Garn. I used the TruBoo because I had it in stock and I was like, let's give this a try. And this is a much drappier, much droopier fabric than what is, I guess, what you get when you use the recommended yarn, but I'm okay with that. It really, I feel like the yarn overs opened up a lot with washing, so they became extra holy. And it's meant to be a little bit longer, and it's also meant to have 2 different sleeve options, and I didn't do either of them. So there's either a shorter sleeve where you work the cable and lace pattern to I think about the elbow, and then there's a longer sleeve where you work that pattern all the way to the wrist, and I think it's a straight sleeve. I didn't read the sleeve part, so don't quote me on that, but it doesn't look like there are a whole lot of decreases. And I just personally, like, both of those sleeves, I was like, I don't know if I'm feeling that. So I decided to go freestyle. Since I didn't have any more of the mint color left, I went with some lilac, because I did have a couple other skeins of the lilac from TruBoo. I used, I think, just under 2 of them to make a look at my holes last summer. And I decided to go for kind of like a fluttery sleeve, like in her Faye top. I'll pop a picture up here so you can see that as well. And I don't have the pattern for the Faye top. What I just did was I picked up for my sleeves, as was recommended in the Kylie pattern, and then I just KF bead all the way around. And that gave a little bit of a ruffle sleeve, though it's kind of stretched out a little bit. But yeah, this is definitely something like to wear with a black tank top or something underneath, especially with how open this is here. But you know, you get some airflow in the armpit area, which isn't bad. And then I knit it for about, I think, 3 inches. And then I did one of the recommended finishings. So for the neckline, for the hem, and then for the edges of the sleeves, she says either you can do 1x1 ribbing, or you can do a little bit, like 2 rows, 1 row, technically, I don't know, of garter stitch, and then you bind off in knit stitches. So after I finished doing my knitting here, I purled 1 round, I knit 1 round, and then I bound off and knit. This was, I think, 3 rounds of stockinette, and then same, like purl, knit, bind off, and knit. It was curling a lot before I washed it, but it kind of smoothed out and it's all good. I also did my classic Sylvia didn't read things properly move. And for the bottom, I didn't realize that I was supposed to go down a needle size. And before washing, it was all ripply because it was too big, I guess. But since this stretched out so much, it's a little less ripply. I still think you can see a little bit of it, but not enough for me to want to redo it with a smaller needle to bring it in a little bit. I did knit this on the recommended needle size. I did do a swatch. I don't know where it is. I think I showed it last time. And I got gauge with the 4mm needles. I used my Knit Pro, I think, is it the Novas? The really slick ones. The 4mm, which I know it's not probably a lot of people's favorite kind of needle material to knit bamboo with, but I liked it. I was fine with that. It is definitely a very slippery combination though, so you need to be careful. And yeah, as I said, I didn't use the recommended yarn. I think Lean is classified as a worsted. This is classified as a DK. I must have used just under 300 grams in total. I did use about 200 in the body, and I had a partially knit skein of the lilac left over, and I think I finished that and then I started another one. So I haven't weighed the whole thing, but it's somewhere between 200 and 300. So it's definitely a little bit heavy, but it's bamboo and it's full of holes, though I am definitely a little bit warm in here right now. I'm going to open my office door to get a little bit more airflow in because it's really hot. I think today it must be like 30 degrees Celsius, which is well into the 80s. I have no idea. I'm not good at math. I grew up in the US. I grew up used to Fahrenheit, but not been in France for a long time. I use Celsius, and I do not know, or I have forgotten how to do the conversion. I think we have kind of gone over this in its entirety, and now I have another finished object that was in progress last time. Dun, 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 dun. this thing that is completely useless to me right now with these hot temperatures. It's really hard to show the full thing on camera. But this is my Fairycore shawl. It's a pattern by Fran Lopez that I tested in May. And what I'll do, I did a little like photo shoot in the woods slash park near my apartment, and I'll pop some of the pictures here. Have them kind of like loop through so you can see the nice little pictures. You can see more of the details while I talk to you about it. And I went into this last time. I used colors from La Bien-Aimée. So I used all Happy Accidents colors from La Bien-Aimée, which is a yarn dyer that I'm sure most of you have heard of. She's based here in Paris. And I used 3 different bases. So this is the Sport Nouveau, which is a non-superwash sport weight. The regular Sport for like this beigey color, which is superwash merino. And then her Mohair Silk, which is mohair and silk. And so this is a half pie shawl. And it is really big. Once again, if you're new here, I'm kind of a mess between metric and imperial measurements. Like for some things I remember them or I measure them in one or the other. For example, I said I knit 3 inches for these sleeves, but I know that I measured this, for example, and from the center to the tip, I think I have like 86 centimeters. And then from the center to the bottom here, I have about 80 centimeters. And I used the recommended needles, and I think it was supposed to be like an 80 centimeter radius, but I'm not sure if it's like this radius or this radius. I mean, it's half pie, it's supposed to be semicircular, but mine is, I guess, a little longer than it is deep. And this pattern, it did come out. I finished it. I was so happy. It was a race at the end, but I did finish it before the pattern release. I did manage to get those pictures up. And oh, the only non-La Bien-Aimée yarn I used was this. I used this pink from Lana Grossa. It's a cotton tape yarn. So here, and like for example here, there's some surface crochet that is done. All of these lines here, this is surface crochet also. Whew. Holding this up like over my arm, I'm really, really warm. I don't know how long I can hold it for. But yeah, I mean, it alternates between textures and cables and lace, and like for example, this is the same pattern as in the Mermaid Avenue socks. And yeah, I think it's a pretty nice piece. It's really big because we had a horrific spring and beginning of, I guess just horrific spring, because we had the summer solstice and then it warmed up a lot. So we had a horrific spring, and I was able to kind of wrap myself in this for a couple of weeks after finishing it. So I did get some use out of it. And oh, there's some surface crochet popcorn stitches here as well. Like the surface crochet, it was very time consuming, especially dealing with these, because you're holding your, at least the tutorial that I found, like you have to hold your yarn underneath and you go in with your crochet hook, you know, yarn over and you pull out into the front. And so you're kind of having to work both on the front and the back without being able to properly see, especially when you're in the middle of something big like this. I definitely got faster as I went along, but it was not easy. It was not easy, but it was worth it because I like it. Like she said, you don't have to do it. It's okay, like with these lines, but I just thought it was a nice touch. Like it divided the stripes up really nicely, especially since we have this little like ruffly thing, this picot ruffle between a lot of the other ones. Like it just seemed more harmonious to me to do that. Whew, I have to put this down. It's too warm. It is too warm. And that was knit, I think it was also on 4mm needles. I'm not sure. I think I said it last time. But yeah, I mean, I I signed up for the test knit and I was really worried at first. I'm like, oh my God, is this going to be too complex, too difficult? But I actually found it quite engaging. And the fact that there's like a lot of different things and that you're never doing the same thing for too long was actually pretty nice. The lace charts were kind of big, like 20-30 stitches wide, 20-30 stitches tall. And for the last purple section, there were 2 different charts that had to be worked, like you worked one and then the other and then one and then the other. But all in all, it was not as hard as I expected. It was just kind of time consuming and I really had to dedicate a lot of time and energy to it because I had a deadline to hit. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. I think she's very pretty and she'll definitely get more use when next fall and winter roll around. Have another finished object that was in progress last time. It is my little secret crop that I kind of modified a little bit. I think I mentioned it last time, but my little secret crop is a pattern by Jessie May. I've knit it, this is my 3rd one by now, and I decided to change things up a little bit more. I didn't do the 1x1 ribbing on top. I modified the decreases a little bit here because I wanted to do these stripes with the ribbing, which didn't really turn out how I was envisioning, but I adjusted my decreases so I could have this ribbing go seamlessly from the front to the back and like line up. I only had to remove like 2 or 3, I think. And I used a cotton from Søstrene Grene for this. Søstrene Grene, I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it either. Let me know if you're Danish. And Søstrene Grene is a Danish chain. They have a bunch of them here in Paris, and they have a little yarny corner. They have lots of different cotton and lots of different colors. However, their labels are unintelligible. Like there's just like random numbers and you don't know which one's the dye lot, you don't know which one's the color. And plus, if you're looking for this color, you won't find it because I bought it a while ago, and their colors seem to like change and fluctuate all the time, and half the time when I go they don't have the same color as I bought the previous time, so I cannot really give you more information about that. I used maybe like 100 grams of this, maybe a little more. I don't know, not a whole lot, but these come in 50-gram bullet skeins that have 160 meters in them. I added a little bit of length. I did not knit it as short and as cropped as the pattern indicates, just so it hits me a little bit lower, though this has definitely stretched out more widthwise and it's shorter than some of my other ones, even though I added, I think, about the same length. Maybe I just got sick of knitting the 3x3 rib and was like, whatever, let's split for the front and deal with it. But it's I knit it mainly for like pajama home hangout. Sorry guys, like these scooters, man, they're so loud. The scooters on the trucks, they kill me. I don't know how well you can hear them. This 3x3 rib, it looked like absolutely disgusting as I was knitting it, but then once I washed it, it just smoothed out really nicely. I think the part that's knit in the round does look better than the part that's knit flat. Clearly my tension isn't as perfect, but like, ta-da! I think it looks pretty nice. I did knit the size large on this. I didn't swatch because I've already knit several. I'm like, whatever. It stretches if it's a little bit smaller than the other ones because the yarn I'm using is a little bit thinner. Whatever, but also the other ones were knitted merino. Anyway, it fits fine. It's a little cropped. It didn't come out exactly how I was envisioning it, but it still serves its purpose perfectly. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it for this guy. I do have one more finished object. Last time I showed you guys the Hexie diamond socks from 52 Weeks of Socks that I had started knitting, and I think I mentioned that I was hating the pattern. Not the pattern in itself, but just like the right and left slipped crosses. Just I didn't enjoy knitting the process, so I didn't enjoy like doing that cross without a cable needle, and there was no way I wanted to use a cable needle because there were just so many of them. So I decided, instead of forcing myself to knit a pair of socks that I would be miserable knitting, I frogged them. I frogged up to the ribbing, added a few more rounds of ribbing, so I went from 15 to 20, and then knit a vanilla sock. So these are a little bit grody. I went to a yoga retreat last weekend. I definitely wore them around the house. I mean, they look okay. I knit a plain vanilla sock with a shadow wrap heel, 56 stitches, and I did do one thing a little different that I'd never done before. I'll show you. I added a little gusset here. Short row heel socks fit me okay, but there's usually definitely a little bit of tension right here, like at this diagonal, at the heel diagonal. And so I had seen people talk about adding a gusset or increasing before you go into the heel to get a slightly better fit. And so I found a tutorial online. It's linked in my Ravelry project page. On my Ravelry page, I did write out the increases that I did, and I also linked to the website that explains it. And so immediately after knitting it, the fit was definitely better, but after wearing these for a while, they're a little bit big. I think it might be also because this yarn is a little bit thicker than some of the other sock yarn I've used, but maybe just there are too many extra stitches. I think maybe next time I try this, I want to add fewer stitches. And speaking of the yarn, I went over it last time too, but this is from Vulcan Yarn. She's a French yarn dyer, and this was the 100-gram skein from her advent calendar 2 years ago, and the colorway is called Aurora Borealis. It has Stellina, which I don't know if you can see it. I can't see the Stellina at all, but there's a little bit of bronze Stellina there. It's really subtle. And yeah, if not, just a classic plain vanilla sock with 1x1 rib, little gusset, and shadow wrap heel. So they're a little bit big, but it'll do. All right, now let's hop on over to works in progress. I just showed you socks, so let's start with a sock. My husband and I have our second anniversary, like our marriage anniversary, coming up on July 9th, and we decided last year to do, you know, like the traditional presents where the first anniversary was paper and the second is cotton. So I had been wanting to try out cotton sock yarn, and so I'm knitting him some cotton sock yarn socks. This is from Regia, German brand, and this is the cotton color. This is the same yardage as a regular merino wool sock yarn. It's 420 meters for 100 grams. And it's a blend of 72% cotton, 18% polyamide, and then a little bit of polyester as well, 10%. And I think the synthetic definitely give it a little bit of a stretch factor, making it a little bit nicer to work with than a 100% cotton yarn, but it's definitely splitty. Like, you can see how loosely plied it is. And I've had a few places, I think, where I missed a couple or one of the plies and you had like a random little string hanging out, but it's not too bad. And I did 20 rounds of 2x2 rib because I think it looks nicer than 1x1. And it's a little stretchier. I did 72 stitches for him because the other pair of socks that I knit, I did in 72 stitches and they fit him great. And yeah, just regular stockinette. And I decided I would try the gusset on this as well. So I did the same kind of gusset. I did do 8 rounds of increases, so 1 increase on each side. And for my own socks, I did 6 rounds of increases, so 12 stitches added. I don't know, before I go any further, because I already finished my decreasing out the extra stitches, and I've done quite a few rounds of stockinette on the foot already, but I do want him to try this on before I go any farther. Because he does have like a fat, flat foot, so he definitely needs the space. The heel flap and gusset I knit him on the other socks fits him great. So yeah, I need him to try this on and see if it works for him. Because I did do a shadow wrap. it's just easier, you know, if I can find the right numbers that work for this technique. It's just less fuss than doing a heel flap and gusset, and then you can get a similar fit. But yeah, I guess I need to get moving on this. It's on July 9th is our anniversary, but also it's his birthday on the 4th of July, and I promised him I would knit him a hat that I haven't cast on yet, and I also need to find something else. So next time, maybe they will be done. I have noticed that tensioning it really leaves a mark on my finger a lot more so than other wool and wool blends I think that I knit with. Like there is a groove on my finger when I knit with this yarn. Oh, and I'm knitting, I didn't mention it, but all of my socks I usually knit on 2.25mm needles, so this one and the previous pair that I showed you. Then let's go for a project that was on the needles last time and has not gone very far since. We have my Sorbetto shawl by Nadia Crétin-Léchenne. Nadia Crétin-Léchenne. Try to pronounce it with a more American accent. This is a kite-shaped shawl. I'm knitting it with yarn from TruBoo yarns, and this is the colorway Amethyst. It's her sock yarn. And also from La Bien-Aimée. So this is the colorway Andromeda, and it is in her sock yarn. The Sorbetto shawl, it alternates between just plain garter stitch, stripes, feather and fan lace with stripes, and then garter, and then I'm back into stripes again. So I think after these stripes, I go back into a lace panel. But given the temperature outside, I'm not feeling super duper motivated to work on this. And so I've only been picking it up here and there. I mean, I kind of abandoned it while I was in my Fairycore saga because that demanded a lot of attention. And, you know, I just kind of pick this up from time to time and work on it, but it's not at all a priority. It's not what's like motivating me and driving me on a daily basis. I'm knitting it on the recommended needles. I did not swatch because it is a shawl, but it's knit on 3.75s, I believe. I don't really want to get much into that because we talked about it last time. Technically, I have 2 more whips and then 1 upcoming cast-on that I've already swatched for. So let's get the next one. I'm knitting the Evelyne top, Evelyne top by Colibri. Joanna, I think the German pronunciation will be Johanna Gerisch. Yeah. The Evelyne top is a fingering weight striped tank top, all in 2x2 rib. So I'm knitting it in yarn from Les Chevaux Solidaires. In French, when you say single skein, you say Chevaux Solitaires with a T. But this yarn brand is called Chevaux Solidaires. So solidaire is like solidarity, not solidarity, but like the adjective for something. Solidarity, like, I don't know if there's, I'm blanking, I don't know if there's an exact word for that. But anyway, so it's Les Chevaux Solidaires. And all of the profits of this company actually go to a charity that researches a rare disease that the woman who founded the company, like her daughter has this disease. It's a non-profit yarn dyer, which is nice. So your money, when you buy her yarn, it goes to helping cure a disease. And I wanted to buy more like wool blends to try out this summer, because last summer I think my summer tops were either knit in like cotton or bamboo, like full-on cellulose fibers, or full-on like wool or sock yarns. And so I was like, okay, this summer I want to try a few different things, and you'll see I've got some acquisitions and other things kind of like in that vibe. And so this is her mosaic base, which is 50% merino and 50% cotton. It's a fingering weight. And it's, the yellow is the colorway jaune fluo, so neon yellow. And this one is called rose chantier. So chantier is like a work, like a construction site, unless it has another meaning that I'm not getting. I didn't double check. But yeah, it's a nice pink. It's not it's bright, but I wouldn't say it's like a neon pink, maybe a little bit, but the yellow definitely is neon. I didn't want to just cast on willy-nilly, but I didn't want to do a big swatch because I was lazy, so I did a baby swatch. Like, it's so tiny, but I was like, whatever. It's better than not swatching at all, which is what I used to do all the time. Like, lately I've been swatching for pretty much every single garment I have made, so we're living, we're learning in this space. I just swatched in the 2x2 rib. I didn't do the stripes like they're supposed to for the pattern. I was like, whatever, I'll just stripe it a little bit. And so then I measured this. Well, at first I wet it, I let it dry. I measured it and I was a little bit off gauge. I didn't feel like going down to a smaller needle. So I just went down a size. Instead of knitting the 95 centimeter bust circumference, I knit the 90 because it's a negative ease top and I have a 100 centimeter bust circumference, which is about 40 inches. I'm loving how this is turning out. I love the color combination. I think the ribbing looks really nice, but I have thoughts. And this is the second pattern by her that I've knit, and I think I can say in full confidence that I do not like her writing style, which is funny because lately I've watched a couple of YouTube videos of people who were knitting her patterns too, and they're like, what? I don't know, maybe it's like German patterns are written completely differently, but it's very wordy, but at the same time, like missing some information that I think should be there if you want to be that wordy about other things. Like either keep it super concise or don't, but you know, just pick one or the other. And a couple examples. So like there's this whole thing about striping, and I think she says it, but the way she said it, like I was not sure at all, but I just knew that when you are knitting in rib, if you don't want your two colors to come out in the purl bumps, when you change colors, you need to knit that row or that round. So here, like if you don't change, you get these when you do your purl stitches. And so I knew that, and I did that for these. If you look in her pattern pictures, she doesn't have the two color purl stitches. So like obviously you're not supposed to just continue in the ribbing. And in the instructions, she says something like knit all the 2x2 stitches or something. And I think that's what she's trying to say. I think she's like knit them instead of working them in 2x2, but it is absolutely not clear in the pattern. And if you look at the pattern pictures on Ravelry, a lot of people didn't get that from the pattern, and you can see that they have that kind of like funky transition with their stripes. What else? For example, in some of the instructions, instead of using abbreviations, she will like write things out. Instead of doing like M1R, she will write out make one right, which I don't really like that. When you're using knitting code, just like use it for the whole thing. Like there's an abbreviation for that. It's like K2P2 and then make one right. Like just write the abbreviation. She also explains how to do a make one right and how to do a make one left. But since this is rib, you sometimes have to increase in purl. And so for those increased rounds, she just writes make one purl, not make one right purl or make one left purl, like I have seen written in many other patterns. And there's no exact explanation of what the make one purl should be. When she explains make one left and make one right, she says like when you're purling, purl them or something like that, but it's just like not super clear, and there's no mention of left or right in the instructions part of the pattern. So like that, I wasn't a huge fan of either. Also for increasing, she doesn't tell you how many times to increase. She says, repeat this round until you have this many stitches. So you need to calculate how many repeats you need to do, whether you need to like stop before completing a repeat. I'm not sure if for any of the sizes you need to stop halfway through the repeat. And I was like, whatever, it's simple math. And I did my initial calculations and I did them wrong. I noticed obviously before, but I miscalculated because I'm not really good at math. And from my calculations, I thought I had to do like half as few as I actually had to do. But anyway, I was also like a little bit worried about the size of this armhole. I have put it on and I think it does hit a little bit low, but there is ribbing that's going to come in and cinch it. And I think it should be okay, so I'm really hoping it will be. And I'm going to do all of my ribbing in this yellow. And like the stripes are meant to be 4 colors. Like you're supposed to have one main color for these longer stripes, and you use your main color for the ribbing. And then you do 1, 2, 3 colors there. 1, 2, 3, like that. And she calls for 100 grams of your main color and then 30 grams of each of the contrast colors. And I obviously have 100 grams of each. So I was worried. I was like, am I going to run out of pink? I've been weighing as I go, and I think if I continue striping like this, I think I should be able to get it long enough with this pattern and be okay when I run out of pink. But I'm also debating swapping after this 18 row pink stripe, maybe do like that, and then turn this into an 18 row yellow stripe and then kind of swap it. So I do shorter pink stripes, like pink, yellow, yellow. We'll see. I also want to, before I make that decision, go through, pick up and do all of my ribbing. Like I'm going to do the collar and the armholes and see how much yellow I have left and compare and maybe attempt to do some math. But what I found is that about 1 round is taking up like 1 gram of yarn. And then I calculated, okay, how many rounds could I get out of that pink? And it should get me through like another 1 or 2 pattern repeats. I don't remember exactly, but we shall see. I think also once I do the ribbing, see how much yellow I have left, see how much longer I want it, because I think the ribbing will definitely pull it in a little bit, and we'll go from there. And just hopefully this won't be too enormous. Like looking at this now, I'm just like, that looks really huge. But like when I tried it on before joining in the round, it didn't seem that huge. But also ribbing stretches out horizontally and then it shrinks vertically. So fingers crossed this will be okay. Like I was really into this at first when I was doing the front and the back, and I couldn't put it down. But just lately I feel like I've been kind of flagging. Like I'm losing motivation for my knitting in general. I haven't been super motivated to knit. But yeah, this is definitely a bit of a, I mean, it's just a tank top. There's no sleeves, but it's knit on 3mm needles. So it takes a while, but I really do love the look of the 2x2 rib with the small needles. Like it just looks pretty neat and nice. And I know that after blocking, it's going to look even better. I just hope the fit is okay. Then I have one more, I guess, whip. I cast on the Béliche top by Émilie Louis. Atelier Émilie, she's a French designer. She's pretty popular among French knitters. And that was also, we're going on a little tangent, but I have an idea to make a video series of patterns by French designers that maybe aren't as well known in the English speaking knitosphere. I already have my notes prepped. They've been prepped for weeks, and I wanted to do the first episode with summer tops. I just need to find the time to do it. It's something that I would like to do. If you're interested, let me know. Technically cast this top on once. Hated the yarn I was using. I frogged it and then picked something else. So this is just this right now. There's really nothing to see. But it's the Béliche by Atelier Émilie. It's a super beyond simple repeat. When I downloaded the pattern, I was like, that's it. The repeat is 2 rows, and it creates this lovely like scalloped edge all on its own, and it creates a zigzag pattern all throughout the top. And in her version, she has 2 versions, one with sleeves in a single color and one with 2 colored stripes, like tank top style. Of course, I'm not gonna knit either one exactly how she's done it because that's not as fun. I decided to pull these 3 colors of my Søstrene Grene cotton yarn. So this is, I had 2 left. This is the same color that I used for this. Yeah, I think these are gonna look really cute together. And so I'm starting with the purple, and that's gonna be my main color. And I would like to do the stripes plus the little sleeves, and do the sleeves in this purple color. So the straps and the sleeves, I think, in this color, and then stripe all 3 for the body. I'm knitting the 4th size, which is a 38 centimeter bust circumference. She recommends having a little bit of negative ease to 0 ease to a little bit of positive ease. I think it's like 2 centimeters. I had originally swatched with the other yarn I was using and my gauge was fine. I did not swatch with this yarn, even though it's a bit different. I'm not too worried if it comes out a little bit bigger. I think it'll be okay. Hopefully this will not bite me in the ass. We'll see. I am knitting it with the recommended needles, which are 3.5 millimeter needles. Somehow last night, because I cast this on yesterday, I cast on and worked on the other version for a while. I had gotten through like 3 stripes, I think, though I was doing shorter stripes because I was doing more colors. Yeah, and I was just like, I hate this thing. So I frogged it and I cast this on yesterday and I was knitting on it last night, and then I pick it up this morning and I'm like, what did you do? I somehow messed up somewhere in the middle of a row. I swapped from knitting just the plain knit round to the decreases, and I'm debating, like, do I just pretend everything is okay because it's not that big of a deal, or do I want to rip back like 2 rounds? Because it's 250 stitches. It's not nothing. But like, for example, here, there you can see there's only 1 round with decreases. Halfway through maybe, or when did I start going wrong? Around here, I have 2 decreases in a row. So like half of the round is okay and then half of it is wrong. I'm not sure what happened. That has not gone very far. I need to figure out, to be honest, I'll probably rip back because it will annoy me way too much. That's it pretty much for my active whips, though I do have like a future cast-on that I have already swatched for, and it's also a good segue into acquisitions because it's a recently purchased yarn. Bought these 2 skeins of yarn from a French dyer called Au Fil de Russe, and this is his Méri-Lin base, so it's 90% superwash merino and 10% linen, and it's a single. You can definitely see the little bits of plant fiber in there. And this color is called Les Flammes d'Osiris. So this dyer, he really loves like ancient Egyptian, like his brand name is related to Egypt. All of his bases are related to ancient Egypt. So this is the Flames of Osiris, this colorway, this neon green. I swatched for Sari Nordland's Rococo top because I was like, I'm not the biggest fan of how super intricate lace looks, but the Rococo is pretty, and I think knitting it in this like ridiculous neon green will kind of, like if I had knitted in like a cream, you know, it would be a bit more feminine, a little bit more soft, but knitting it in like this violently neon green will give it a bit more of a Sylvia touch. Anyway, so I swatched with this, but the problem is I could. The top part, you have 2 lace panels for the front and the back, and the lace is supposed to be knit on 3mm needles, and then the stockinette is knit on 3.5. My 3mm needle Chow Goos are on the Evelyne top, and my 3.5s are on the Béliche. I do have 3s and 3.5s in the shorter needles because I have the 5-inch ones in action on those 2 projects. I do have the 4-inch needles, but I'm a little bit hesitant to use them because they make my hands hurt, but I might just, I don't know, start anyway and just not work on it for a super long time, and as I finish up these other projects, transfer the longer needles. So Rococo top with this acquisition coming soon. To continue with the theme of merino blends, ugh, I love this and I want to cast this on. This is a merino tencel blend from French yarn dyer Ars Natura. It's 50% merino, 50% tencel, which is like a sustainable cellulose fiber. She sent me cute little stitch markers too. And this is her colorway L'Heure Bleue. It's a sport weight. This base has been super, super popular among French knitters for the past, I don't know, like I've been seeing it a lot for the past 2 years in summer tops among designers and dyers. And I feel like a lot of the dyers that dye merino tencel dye it in solid colors. I'm a little bit sick of solid colors. I feel like I've been doing a lot of things in solid colors, and I think that might be why I'm not feeling super motivated to knit, because my brain likes fun and changes and just seeing different colors pop up on the needles, and just knitting something in like a plain swath of one color, or even if it's stripes, it just doesn't excite me as much. So I really wanted to try merino tencel, but I wanted it with like Sylvia vibes. And so I was looking online and I found that Sabine, Ars Natura, she does some of her colorways on merino tencel, and she has amazing colorways, like bright colors. And I had never ordered from her before. I had definitely eyed her yarn before and been like, oh, the colors are so good. And it's like, okay, we're just gonna get 2 skeins and try it out. And this, I think I'm going to knit a SanSé top from Atelier Émilie, so same designer as the Béliche. And it's just a simple stockinette tank top with double knit trims, like around the neck, around the armholes, and around the bottom, and just really let this beautiful yarn shine. I'd probably knit, you know, the top, it's knit top down, the top with just one, but then alternate skeins on the body, since it is a pretty variegated color. But oh, I love it. Then I had also placed a pre-order a couple months ago from another French yarn dyer, Pauline, who goes by Bulbe Bizarre. It's kind of a play on Bulbe Bizarre, because she used to run a plant company, and so it's like weird bulb, like a plant bulb, and she just kept the same name for her yarn dyeing company. So Bulbe Bizarre, Bulbe Bizarre. And she had shown on her channel, because she also has a YouTube channel, that one of her customers had knit this color combination into an, I think, Alpenbloom by Caitlin Hunter, using this as the contrast and this as the main color. And as soon as she saw that picture, I was like, oh my god, I'm obsessed with that combination. I didn't know what I was going to do with it, but I knew that when she opened pre-orders and if these colors were available, I was going to buy them. She also knit these colors together in a shawl. It looked amazing. And so I ordered 2 of these purple, which is velours, which is velvet in French. And it's just in her sock yarn base. So it's a 85-15, 400 meters for 100 grams. And this is just amazing. Like, it's, I think you're seeing it a little bit lighter, but it's just like, it's dark and then it lightens, and it's amazing, amazing. Again, it's not a plain solid color, hallelujah. And then there's Borealis. And it's this, also lots of beautiful variations, like it kind of goes almost like undyed to like darker speckles to more yellowiness over here. I think Borealis, I think it's supposed to be like the Borealis, like Aurora Borealis. I think it must be inspired by that. I was looking, I was like, what can I knit with these? And I came across Tina Say's Floating Magnolias pattern that I had already seen before, and I was like, this will be the more main color. So the ribbing and the slip stitch cables will be in this color. So yeah, I really want to cast these on. I also really want to cast these on. I'm like, do I just want to go like Summer Top Wild and cast on the Rococo, the SanSé, and the Floating Magnolias? I kind of do, but then I might be a little too overwhelmed. Then a few weeks ago, I went to an online yarn store in France called Lily Comme Tout. And every once in a while, she'll do like an open doors mini festival where she will open up her home, not her like home, but she has her little warehouse in her home. So it's a separate space, like you don't go into her living room or anything. But she opens up her warehouse. She has a big yard and sets up kind of like tents and stands and stuff, and invites other makers to come sell stuff. And so I went this time around and I bought some yarn, obviously. I bought a couple other random things like candles and stitch markers, but whatever, we're not gonna go over that. And yeah, so there was French yarn dyer Arcoiris Yarns, Arcoiris, which means rainbow in Spanish. And I as I said earlier, I really want to try more plant yarns, more summer yarns. And I didn't really want to buy merino, but she doesn't really do a lot of like summer fibers, and she just has such nice colors, which like looking at this now, it's not as bright as Borealis, but it's kind of similar. Sylvia vibes. And then this one was really pretty too. It says Stellina. So this is the colorway Luna on her Stellina sock yarn base. And then this is the colorway Écran. I'm not sure what this is a reference to. Like all of her yarns are pop culture references usually. Like she has a Willy Wonka collection and a Harry Potter collection. And I generally stay away from anything Harry Potter related just because J.K. Rowling is a terrible person. But you know, this one's called Luna, and I guess that's okay for me. Well, yeah, I got these 2 skeins from her. No idea what I'll do with them. It was just kind of like, oh, let's buy a couple random skeins. And then I did go in, like I bought the yarn from Les Chevaux Solidaires, also there. She had a stand there. And then I bought these. So this is the same yarn that I'm knitting my husband's socks with. I bought 2 skeins of it in the color that I'm using for his, and then these so I can knit myself a pair. I didn't say the colors, but the Regia colors are just like 04080. And the yellow and green one is 02424. And then I also got this. So this is a cotton blend sock yarn. A friend of mine used this to knit some socks and they came out really cool. Look at all these colors. And this does have wool in it. What's the composition? It's 45% cotton, 42% virgin wool, and 13% polyamide. Oh yeah, a cotton wool nylon blend to try out for some socks. And I got 2, I didn't bring out both, but I got 2 skeins of Knitting for Olive Pure Silk in Sunflower because I bought 2 last summer potentially to use for a project. I didn't use them for that. And then I was like looking for a project to use those 2 skeins in. And there isn't really much that you can do if you don't want like a super tiny crop tank top in like a size small with 2 skeins, at least as far as I was finding when you look at the yardage estimates. So I decided I would just grab 2 more of them to have enough to make like a proper, more long tank top or a t-shirt or something. Here's just one of them. All right, I've been talking to you guys for an hour now. It'll probably be a little bit shorter once I do my editing. I hope you had a nice time with me today. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like the video. It tells YouTube that people like you enjoy my videos. If you want to leave me a comment, I would be happy to discuss anything with you knitting related. Like what were you working on when you were watching this? I'm curious, what summer tops do you have going on? Or are you in the Southern Hemisphere and you're throwing yourself into sweaters? What's your favorite project of mine? I don't know, just give me your thoughts. Let me know what you think. And if you're not subscribed, please do subscribe. Have a great day and happy knitting. Bye.